playing around a little bit with some of these ideas that we were talking about the other week with respect to getting your percussion instruments to play back correctly in finale. And what I've done here is I've pulled up a chart of MIDI values as they correspond to different notes. It's a little confusing. It'd be nice, of course, if they just went up to 88, you know, a la the number of keys on the piano. But one thing we can be sure of is that middle C is going to reside at MIDI note or value 60. So what I've got here is just the beginnings of this little simple exercise I was playing around with. So we're going to pretend that we want this to be assigned to snare drum, this third space, and then some sort of bass drum, grancassa, and then you know, the crash cymbal, piatti. So anyway, we want to get these to play back using the correct sounds, and we've got this aria player loaded up, noting here that, you know, it's loaded it onto bank 2 for whatever reason, and it wants to have the percussion sound on channel 2. So I'd want to make sure that I'm all set there. So I'm going to go to the audio banks, units, banks, and effects like we did the other week. Sure enough, bank 2 here. And then I want to make sure that I've got the orchestral percussion on the correct channel. So it's on 1 here, it's on 2 here. So they're not going to talk to each other. So I either need to change here or here. So why didn't I just make that change here? So that now we can expect this to play back. Expect those sounds to play back. And the way this is laid out with this basic orchestral percussion and the Garritan personal orchestra, you know, percussion sounds, is we've got our bass drum sounds down here, we've got snare drum sounds here, including a roll, and then we've got the miscellaneous cymbal sounds up here, and then there's a triangle sound up at the top. So what we want to do here is we want this to play back using the correct sounds, obviously. Let's listen to what we've got for starters, and then I'll call your attention over here to this percussion MIDI map. Notice that it says none right now. So you can probably tell that the only instrument that we heard was the bass drum for these notes. So I'm going to come over here to the percussion MIDI map, and these are pretty standard choices. This general MIDI or the Smart Music Soft Synth. You'll notice that there's a preset or template called Orchestra Percussion. Try the general MIDI one. Yeah, I doubt you could hear it because of the speakers in here, but there is a triangle sound playing right here at the very end. Don't necessarily want that, but that's what's happening. You'll notice also that we had a snare drum type sound with the snares, you know, off on the snare drum right here. So let's say that we wanted to have, you know, the regular snare sound on those notes. So what I could do then is I could go, again, and this is the score manager, I could go into where it says notation style percussion settings, and I have gone up and you can see I've been playing around here. So I'm going to use this one that I've been editing because I want to show you here that the snare is not set properly. So you'll see here that it's set to MIDI note number 57 here for this snare drum. And I'm not worried about these other values right now for the left hand, but I am concerned with this being 57. So as I mentioned before, middle C is 60. And so what I want to do here is I'm going to pull up my aria player just so I can show you. That middle C, which is here, if I click on that, then I get a snare drum sound. Let's say that's the sound that I want instead of snares off. So I'm going to come back over here again, and actually I can close this, and I want to open up that score manager, and I'm going to change this value. So I'm going to select that snare drum, and I'm going to go to new up here, and find that snare drum. You can see it's right there. It's assigned to 57 right now, which is the sample that's got the snares off. I'm going to type in 60 there. That can also be done on the MIDI keyboard. So I'm going to say OK, and then OK again. And go ahead and say select, meaning I want to use this orchestral percussion test map. And it's time to play this back now. All right, so we still have the unwanted triangle at the end. We can resolve that the same way that we resolve the snare drum. You could hear that over here now the snare drum notes are at least playing correctly. So sometimes you get lucky with these maps also. Like we've got this percussion MIDI map down here in the score manager. Now it's possible I could just come down here to the Smart Music Soft Synth and select orchestral percussion and be happy with what I've got here for what we're wanting to have as a cymbal. So let's hit play. Okay, so we didn't get lucky. Instead of triggered some sort of snare sound or snare roll, but you'll notice that it was a different sound here than it was before. So just bear in mind that depending on which of these you're using, you're going to get different sounds. All right, so let's go ahead and make that some sort of cymbal sound. So I'm going to go to Settings. I'm working from that same map that I'm making. And here I've got this crash cymbals crash, and you'll notice that the note heads are the same as the note head up here. I could change those if I wanted to. That's all done from right here. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to use a different note head, I could do that, but in this case, that's correct for our cymbal. And so I'm gonna say, come in here to New. Notice here that it's currently assigned to a value of 96. And I'm going to go to find my crash cymbal here, which is assigned to 96. And I really want that to be assigned somewhere towards the bottom of the keyboard. So, for example, down here, you know, one of these sounds, let's say that one. Okay, so that pitch, again, according to our MIDI table over here, sorry for my bird, is, you know, again, that's 60. And we can look over here. So the next C is 72, which is grayed out. The next C is 84. Okay, right there. And then we said we wanted, that D sharp right there. So that's going to be 87. That's what we're wanting to go for here. So coming back over here again to the score manager. And we said 87 is what we want. So I'm going to go back to where I was just at a moment ago. Crash cymbals, New, which I really wish I would just kind of call Edit. And then we're going to make this say 87. I just type those values in on my keypad and say okay, okay, and then select, and let's play it back. We should get a cymbal sound there now. Yep, sure enough, we get a cymbal sound there. All right, well, I hope this was helpful, and I'll try to make another one about the rewire. All right, take care. Bye-bye.